Oh man. Oh buddy. Oh man. My Hero Academia chapter 226, Bloody Love. Oh my gosh. Guys, did you see that chapter? That was amazing. Oh my god. Whoa, like a lot of things were really working there. Like the last minute reveal, Toga's backstory, the art, man, the art, there were some pieces in there. Curious shot up for me, and that's just because of the poses that she was involved in. Like the one shot where she was cradling Toga. My god, man, the author wanted to do some creepy stuff and he did it well. Oh my gosh, that was good. I was feeling really scared there for Toga. I did not think she was going to have this hard of a scenario. Oh my god, that was amazing, alright? That was a great chapter. That's like the best chapter of this arc right now. And you know the best thing about great chapters is that they give you a lot to talk about. And we're going to talk about a lot. We've got things to cover about Toga's backstory because that makes me feel more confident now. Like, okay, I think it's a straight backstory. Thank you, author. You gave me enough information. So we got Toga's backstory. We can talk about the discrimination that is still occurring in the Hero Academia universe, especially the discrimination when it comes to mental deviancy. We can talk about... sorry, I'm just trying to collect all my thoughts. We can talk about why quirks suck, because we're kind of going down that line again. And you know, if you guys have been like following the, actually for the super fans who followed the Hero Academia videos on this channel, and I know that that's like Tallow Wolf, DRA, Kenju Storm, like you guys, you guys, and some others. I just can't remember all your commenter names now. But you know, if you follow the channel, you know how I am about the quirks suck rhetoric, specifically that the quirks are too limited to work in Shonen Jump's system of power escalation. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about... Oh man, I should have looked over the chapter. This is kind of a reaction for the chapter, honestly, because I haven't really given the chapter enough time to sit in my head. But this was just too good of a chapter. So those are a few things we'll talk about. We'll just start there, and we'll get into it. So what I want to talk about first is, of course, the quirkery that happens at the end. And this we'll talk about, you know, just what the author is doing and what he's using to get thrills out of you. Because we have to talk about this aspect of the quirks, because all long-running shonen, there's eventually a vocal minority of fans who will point out some kind of trait that long-running shonen have and use that to complain about them. And I think Hero Academia is going to develop that same vocal minority because the author keeps doing it. And there's always going to be someone that's going to think it's cool to point it out, and then they're going to just rile up a fan base. Anyway, the quirk thing. So my reaction as I'm reading this chapter, the moment that I see Toga transform into Ochako, I'm thinking, oh my god. Toga is in a terrible situation. She's being assaulted on all sides. This person is talking up how she knows that Toga can only transform into something. I'm thinking in my head, it's just a transformation. That's not going to help Toga. And I'm thinking, the way that this is going, the author is about to make this girl use Ochako's quirk. And lo and behold, man, that moment where you have Toga being, or just running into the explosion. One thing I will say is that was an amazing lead up. Toga's shout was amazing. I love that. That was great. And then seeing Curious float up into the sky, it was like, whoa. I can't believe he actually did it. We have another quirk copier. Although I do like the little things that he did with this one. Because if you look at how the author wrote this, or how he drew it, Toga's transformation runs out faster when she's using this. Like the moment she sent Curious flying, her eyes were kind of like releasing some blood again. So that was a really cool detail that the author did. He also emphasized how important it is that Toga know the person that she's doing. Specifically, you have Toga saying like, hey, I saw how Ochako uses this quirk. She has to tap her fingers together. I love that. I love that the author emphasized, well, you know, it's one thing to copy a quirk. You can't really do much if you can't, if you don't know how to make it work. So I really love that. And then you also had that little bit about Curious saying that her superpower evolved. This actually, Toga isn't the first person who's had her quirks evolve in the Hero Academia universe. there's another person who's had quirk evolution occur to him. Or, I call it evolution, but it's pretty much, just developing like better control over your muscle. And the person who's done that before in the Hero Academia universe is the Crawler from Hero Academia Vigilantes. And of course, actually, yeah, I think he's done this before even Izuku did it, and I think he did it before Toga did it. And I'm trying to think, is there anyone else in Hero Academia that has had a quirk evolution occur? I don't think so. Not really. You guys let me know, but when I say evolution, I mean like a new function of their quirk has been revealed. And for the Crawler of Hero Academia Vigilantes, his function has gone from just sliding around on the ground to being able to shoot air bubbles or air blasts. So that's a pretty big evolution for him. And the reason why that character evolved is because the Vigilante series, he's the main character, or one of the 3 main characters, and main characters need to keep getting new stuff to be relevant in the landscape. So that's why that character has gotten so many evolutions. So the idea of Toga unlocking a hidden potential of her quirk isn't strange. This is totally within the rules of the Hero Academia universe. We've seen this before with Izuku. No, Izuku's not a fair case. But we've seen this before with other characters in the universe. So if anyone's saying that this is an ass pull, just want to let you know that there is a precedent within the Hero Academia universe. Although, let me know if there's someone else who has had a quirk, quote, evolution, other than Izuku, because I don't think there's anyone in the main series that has had their quirk change. Like, people improve their quirks, but no one really gets it changed, I think. I'm trying to think, but I can't really think of anyone. Anyway, back to this. Yeah, I was totally into it, man. It was good. It was good. It was excellent. I loved the scenes. It was a fun thing. It's a cool. I think the author also wanted to draw Ochako with like an evil face, and it works, man. It is good. Now we have to talk about, okay, what can Toga do with this now? But we don't know if there needs to be like really strenuous circumstances to get Toga to do this. We don't know if Toga needs to have a mental compatibility with the person. This might be a limited form of quirk copying, but most likely by endgame Hero Academia, Toga will be able to do it properly. And I'm very excited for that. I think it'll be really cool. And now my question is, can she copy Shigaraki and use his quirk? That's where we're going to see the mental compatibility. Although I think Toga is compatible with Shigaraki, just not to that love degree. Going to be very interesting though to see if she can pull it off. I also want to know if there's a degree of pain involved in her using the quirk. We'll need to see. Anyway, I still want to talk so much about this. We'll just very quickly go into the why quirks suck rhetoric for me. So you guys have been following it. I've made videos about it and I've talked about it in chapters. It's just quirks are too limited, and so they just don't work for the nature of story escalation in Shonen Jump. So when you have a situation like this where Toga is looking like she's on the ropes, like she has nowhere else that she can go, and it's like her quirk isn't made for these kind of confrontations. Like, her quirk is not made for killing. She is made for killing, not the quirk itself. When you have those kind of situations, look at what happens. The author pulls out the card. Oh wait, she has another function to her quirk. And it's like, well, okay, but you have to understand that nature of using a quirk as a plot twist, or using a quirk and opening up a new realm of possibilities by giving that quirk another power. The author has been doing this. The way he implements it is different across all the villains he's done it on, but this at the base is still making quirks, like pretty much buffing up quirks, because I think the author understands to some degree quirks are too limited for this, for making compelling battles or for making these really hard situations that characters have to get out of. Quirks are too limited for the sense of making the drama work. And, it's, again, like, this is one of those things where we can't, like, hit against the author, because this is a bit of a personal challenge for him, too. What we have to do is just look at how he implements it each and every time and say, well, to what degree is this really, really good? Like, to what degree did the author get clever here? In the case of Toga, I think it's reasonable that Toga can use someone else's quirk. I think it's reasonable in the sense that Well, Toga's taking in a biological component. That biological component does have that does have the person's quirk factor. The only question is, can Toga's body read the quirk factor? And as we find out in this one, to some degree she probably can. So for Toga, she has enough reasons for why she's able to do this. I think just in terms of, just those flat justifications, I think this is really good. But with this, Toga also now joins that category of villains that pretty much say, they don't say it like overtly, but they say it by the very nature of their existence, that the way to win in Hero Academia is to have multiple quirks. So she's joining the category that other villains have been playing around in, like the Nomus, although I do think that Toga might still be a weaker character. She might be a weaker iteration of this category of villains. But it is pretty neat to see her doing this. It is pretty neat. Overall, I think this is a really good implementation. If you guys recall, one of the implementations, I think, of the multiple quirks is the winner kind of thing, was Gentle, because that one was using the teamwork aspect to make multiple quirks work, which I think is good. One of the most overpowered examples of quirks that can do too much was Shizaki. His implementation just involved him having one quirk that was super versatile. And now Toga is an implementation that seems like she can do this, but it does seem like there's some hard limitations, although I don't know to what degree her injuries are coming from the quirk versus the injuries she got from being blasted in the face, because by the end of it she's spitting out blood, and it's like, well, is that from the quirk abuse or is it coming from the actual power? So very interesting. I am kind of fearful for the author using quirks as these plot twists, or like buffing up a quirk as a way to turn around a fight and to make a fight more suspenseful. But I'm into it. I do wonder how it's going to be 5 years down the line. And in case there's any new manga readers that started with Hero Academia, I want you guys to know, like, the thought pattern of complaining about something that a series does a lot, it's very prevalent in manga communities. That's why whenever I see this, I'm thinking this is going to be the issue that people talk about in the future. This is going to be it. It's like, heck, even on the manga stream comments, I already saw someone saying, man, I hope that the author isn't just going to turn everyone into having multiple quirks, because to some degree it looks like multiple quirks are the way to win. One last thing that I'm going to say is that I think the best thing that we get out of this is that we finally get to see someone get dropped from an insane height with Ochako's quirk. Because Ochako's never going to do it. So it's great that Ochako sort of does it. And she just like did that to those people. Although, that's where I'm going to say, like, okay, how high up was Curious? Like, is she actually at a fatal height? Because, there's terminal velocity. People can survive jumping out of a plane. People can survive falling from a second story. Now, what I'd be very interested in is if Curious didn't fall with the regular force of gravity. And what I mean by that, I wonder if Toga, because like the carnage looks bad, but I wonder if Toga added a little bit more acceleration. Like, the acceleration due to gravity is 9.81 in most places on the world. What if Toga increased it to like 11.2? Can she increase the gravitational force vector? That'd be interesting. But we see this lady fall down. We know a bunch of people fall down. She splattered. That's something, right? And Toga's there, and Toga's like pretty good with going around and offing people. So maybe she'll just go and double tap and finish her off. So we talked about that. That was a lot. Oh my gosh. But there's still a lot more we have to talk about. Let's jump to the beginning of the chapter, back to Toga's backstory. So last week, recall, you guys, I was kind of iffy, I was still biased into my own personal thoughts, and I wasn't sure. But this week, honestly, the flashback was more clear. I think the author gave me enough information to be able to say, like, okay, yeah, I think this is pretty clear. This is Toga. Like, you see that smile in the chapter. You see like that little girl, the child, and it's like, that's Toga. All right, like I recognize that vampire-like grin anywhere. Toga. So one thing that I've learned a lot more throughout this arc of Hero Academia is that discrimination is still alive and well in the Hero Academia world. We first had it with Spinner when he was talking about the community that he was born in, how mutants are, just not treated well. But with Toga, we get something very interesting. We get Quirk counseling, an emotional education program that attempts to reintegrate you with society by correcting your distorted understanding of yourself and others. And that, yo, man, that doesn't sound good. Like, the first thing I thought when I heard Quirk counseling, I thought, this is electroshock therapy. That's what this is. And I'm just thinking, oh my god, that's a problem. And then this lady Curious points out that it causes the patient to feel even more different than everyone else. Makes sense that she would point that out because she's a journalist. I thought that was really good. I liked a little bit of nuance. But I'm just thinking about that, and just thinking about this idea of society trying to make you, or yeah, a program trying to make you fit in with society. And with Toga here, like, Curious was really good in this chapter because she gave us this really excellent narration. She was saying, because her quirk revolved around blood, she, Toga has an admiration of blood, and it's just, that's really interesting. And the person that I think of when I'm looking at Toga, I'm thinking of La Brava. La Brava was someone, if you guys recall when we were talking about it, La Brava was someone that seems to feel emotion intensely, and that might be a side effect of her quirk. And now when you have Toga here, who ends up admiring blood, she values blood in a very different way because blood has a different biological component to her, or blood has a different meaning to her. It's the tool by which she gets to express her individuality. And it's also important to remember, guys, way back when Hero Academia first started, quirks were called individualities because that's, I believe, is a better translation of the word. Quirks is something that the Fallen Angel translation group came up with, and then that Viz adopted. It's individualities, and that kind of like pushes the idea further. Quirks makes it seem like this is just something that makes the person weird. Individualities make it seem like quirks are something that make the person whole. And there is always that rhetoric, and then you have the superhuman army, whose whole thing is about accepting all of yourself. And for Toga, this idea of admiring blood makes sense in terms of that accepting yourself. Anyway, I'm digressing because I just thought Curious's talk was really good here. But what I'm thinking is, society is good at dealing with the things that are on the outside. They made, bunch of different clothing options for people that need multiple clothing options. They've made things to accommodate how people look. But then you have this degree of people, like La Brava and like Toga, whose mentalities are being shifted by their legitimate biological capabilities. La Brava's power is based around love. So La Brava ends up feeling love harder. She falls into love more. Can you really fault La Brava for being so in love with a person that she can't operate properly after that? To what degree is that just a normal human versus a person who has her emotional centers just thrown up to 100? And then Toga, well, Toga's whole ability, what makes her unique, comes from her drinking blood. She doesn't see it as any problem. It's just that's how she can get closer to a person. So to what degree did that change her brain? To what degree has that changed her worldview? Is she wrong for the worldview? Well, not really. If she can turn into a person, if you try to put some spirituality onto that, turning into a person, does that not mean that there is some bigger significance in the blood that lets her do that? So I think it's really interesting that we're going into this area of looking at people who have different worldviews based on what they legitimately experience in their life. Why can't blood have a bigger impact on Toga if she is changing to another person to the degree that she can also take on their quirks? Like, heck, what if this was turned up a little bit more to 11 and Toga can actually adopt some of the person's thought patterns? Would the blood not become more important for Toga? Heck, what if you had Toga propagate into society and you had like multiple people that end up with Toga's quirk down the line? Then you would, give it like, let's assume a Toga's like super prolific. Let's assume she has like 5 kids, and those 5 kids each have 5 kids. Like a few generations down the line, you have a couple hundred people who have this different connection to blood than most people do. So it's very interesting to look at mental deviancy and to what degree is that not the person's fault. And I don't think it's Toga's fault that she has a bigger connection to blood or that she values blood more, given that it's able to let her do incredible things. So I really like that. That was really good. That was a really cool idea, and I like that Toga joins that rank along with La Brava of people who their reactions to life they might have been, like, to what degree can they choose? Because they have this thing that makes them uniquely them, and it's just that thing also predisposes them to a different value system. Now, I do think there's things like Toga saying that sucking blood is the same thing as kissing, and it's like, okay, Toga, you don't have to kill the person. I'm gonna assume that's because of the electroshock therapy that you went that far, but if it was just drinking blood, that would have been fine. But you know, like the stabbing part, that's where you can definitely tell, okay, well, all things considered, Toga's like really off the deep end, but just, you know, take it back to the blood. The drinking it blood itself and Toga overvaluing blood, I think that's reasonable. I think that's reasonable for her to have it. But it's just it's a more interesting topic about how even though people have changed on the outside, people are not taking into account how people are changing mentally and on the inside. I do wonder if we're ever going to see any heroes that have, well, these more complex struggles, because right now it just seems like the villains are the ones that get to deal with the more gray areas. We'll have to see, but overall, that was really good. Okay, are there any other things to talk about? Nah, we're like already 20 minutes in. My voice is dying. I've been talking for like 40 minutes. I just talked on Shokei no Soma. We'll leave it there. Man, I just tired myself out there. But man, this was such a good chapter. Yo, this was such a good chapter. Oh my god, 10 out of 10. Love it. It's amazing. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought down below. And till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day. But oh my, yeah, so good. I don't know if I'll be able to get on the comments this week. My day job's keeping me really busy. I'll see if I can pop on for anything. But overall, I'm so happy with this, man. This was so cool. Anyway, yeah, till next time. Hope you have a great day.